Okay, this is Todd Standing's very long video, and so I would recommend bring a lunch, 'cause this one's going to take a while. This is Todd Standing's Bigfoot North vlog from Todd Standing discussing various Sasquatch topics. Like I said, this is a long one. Oh, and I'll probably be stopping every few seconds to make a comment.
For the past 10 years, I've been conducting expeditions, documenting chronicles, and interviewing people pertaining to the subject of Sasquatch. With over 20 years worth of hardcore backcountry expedition experience into the most remote regions, I've tracked and studied various North American species that have had little to no exposure to civilization. I am a student of many disciplines, trained in the art of tracking by a Cree Nations elder and a military sniper. My skill sets include camouflage techniques using the terrain and its features to mask ground movement, obstacle crossing, camping positions, effective observation, camouflage penetration, counter surveillance, survival, evasion, and escape techniques. In 2006, my team and I publicly showed two separate crystal clear Bigfoot videos I personally filmed, which we used to petition the Canadian government for species protection of Bigfoot. The petition was certified and tabled in the Canadian House of Commons. The media response was enormous, with hundreds of newspaper, television networks, radio stations, and websites that receptively presented our work across the globe. It was our goal to reach out to the masses about why our group was beginning the struggle for species recognition and protection. Good day, thank you for joining us for this episode of Bigfoot North. I'm going to be going through a few different things this episode. This episode is just going to be me talking. We are going to be having guests on. My former co-host Jeff Meldrum is going to be in my next episode of and this is Bigfoot North Radio. I'm gonna stick with that terminology. We're only doing 6 episodes. As I said, Jeff Meldrum will be on the show next week. He'll be discussing what's new. I've got a few surprises for him. He is actually I'm sending him copies, raw footage of some of my Sasquatch footage that he's requested because he would like to do some tests. I believe it's with M.K. Davis, someone who's done some work on the Patterson-Gimlin film. So I've always been very free and open with people that ask for my footage.
Is this guy serious? No, he only gives his. I think he only gives his footage out to those who will kiss his rear end, or those who are just so deeply invested in his work, as it were, that they will just believe just about anything. You know, I mean, I hate to say this, but Meldrum is being very gullible at this point. And again, I mean, Bitternoggle, I mean, is there some gullibility with him? Well, I don't know. I really don't know if like I say, is it just that Bitternoggle? I think partially it's because both Bitternoggle and Meldrum, they would like to have a sighting for themselves. You know, I mean, Meldrum's in his late 50s, and Bitternoggle doesn't have a whole lot of time left. He's in his mid-70s, so, you know, this is just how I look at it. But anyway, let's carry on.
Believe it or not, and I've always been very free and open with people that ask me for my footage. I've been very transparent, and that's an issue.
You serious?
Issue that we're going to get into in a few minutes, but first let's talk about the episode. So first it'll be Jeff Meldrum, then it'll be either Randy Brisson, who is such an amazing guy. He just so immensely impressed me, and I was astounded by one of his Sasquatch photographs, and something that was really interesting about Randy was I just don't even know how I came across him. He just emailed me on Facebook or something, and and I saw that photograph that he has of the Sasquatch, and I was quite intrigued by it because it really matches the lack of
You serious?
You know, I don't know what that is supposed to be, but that's not a Sasquatch. I've seen the comparison photos from this one to someone actually standing in that spot, and that is a hoax. But then again, I'm not surprised that Todd Standing would champion a hoax, seeing as how he's a hoaxer.
of sagittal crest and temporalis muscle that's in my video 5 Sasquatch, the one with the big crest on his head, and more matches the what I assume is the female that's in my video 4, who has very flat sagittal crest and almost virtually non-existent, at least from the
You serious?
perspectives that I film. Temporalis muscle, which again is that muscle that peaks up. So anyways, I met Randy. I had some really incredible success with him. He's 100% legit, and even fortunately we did a lot of film.
Well, no, I don't think 100% legit individuals walk up on a trail with other legitimate Sasquatch researchers and toss rocks behind their backs and think nobody's watching them and say, "Oh, a Sasquatch threw that." You know, I've met Randy once. You know, he's probably not gonna like this video, but you know what? I prefer honesty over tact. You know, I think that's something Grover Krantz once said. I mean, he was spotted by Thomas Steenberg and by John Kirk throwing rocks behind him, and then claiming that the Sasquatch threw the rocks. So trust me, I know from whence I am coming from and what I'm talking about.
We were putting some stuff together for a potential TV show, so I went out into the wilderness and I took John Betternuggle with me and introduced these two guys, and man, they are just like peas and carrots. They're really good friends now. And again, what was the first thing you'll
Me and Jenny, just like peas and carrots. Yeah, quit cribbing from Forrest Gump there, Todd. It ain't working for you.
if you see anything about Randy Brisson online, there's a whole bunch of people in the Sasquatch community, and I can't even believe we call it the Sasquatch community. It's the Sasquatch. What's the opposite of community? People are all trying to cut their own throats, and the Sasquatch competition, where it's everybody does whatever they can to deface or defile everybody else, and
It's not about defacing or defiling. It's about calling out hoaxers and calling out BS when we see it, Todd. That's what it is.
it's not. Nowhere is it better illustrated than this wonderful human being, Randy Brisson, who I took out. I introduced John Betternuggle to him. John was already told by the Sasquatch community that he's just an awful person and Randy's a hoaxer and all this kind of stuff. And for the first time ever, John Betternuggle, I consider him, he's a mentor of mine. He's a great man. One of the most amazing things about him is he just doesn't.
Well, if you consider John Betternagel a mentor, then maybe you should get better mentors. Now, I would have figured your mentors would have been Ivan Marks or Tom Biscardi or something like that. Well, and by the way, when I say he's get better mentors, I'm not meaning that as a slight against John Betternagel. Not at all. John's a great man. I mean, I agree. For once, I agree with Todd Standing. John Betternagel is a great man. But I just wish John would be a little more discerning. That's all. So I can kind of understand why he's, hooking up with people like this.
He doesn't get angry. He's not a profane guy. He just, and he thinks he gets angry, but he doesn't. He doesn't know. He never gets hostile. He never smashes, and he never swears. And I'll tell you, he came so close to swearing when he talked about how other people from the Sasquatch community, people specifically that he mentioned that he knew well, that were saying terrible things about Randy, calling him a liar, calling him a hoaxer. And Randy's got incredible footage, and now John, since he went out to the field with Randy and worked with Randy, he just, it's been very impressive. And so Randy Brisson will be on. He was also, I recommended Survivor Man Les Stroud do an episode with Randy, so he did. I don't remember what the episode's called, but it was in season 2 of Survivor Man Bigfoot, and Randy Brisson's in that. So we'll talk about the episode with Les Stroud. We'll talk about it's so funny. I can't stress how it blows my mind how these TV shows and networks want to come out and they want to be quick and easy and get it done and have great success. It just doesn't work that way. It's so much time, so much preparation, and when it comes to Sasquatch, it's so hard to get your success. And TV shows are just so difficult about that. Les went out with Randy for probably 3 days, what he does with me, and commits, and he works hard, and I have nothing but good things to say about Les Stroud. But to get any kind of success in 3 days is tremendously difficult. The reason I had success in that short a time period is there's a certain time of year where I get the best, where Sasquatch interact with me the best.
Could this guy possibly be any more narcissistic? I mean, geez, people talk about our current president being narcissistic. I don't think, no, he's got nothing on Todd Standing for sure. I'll say that much. I mean, regardless of how you feel about our current president, this guy is more reminiscent of our previous president, if you ask me.
And I should talk about that for a second too. Why there's really another level that I've gotten to. A couple little secrets about what you really need to be successful with Sasquatch research, and this is so important. This is the basis for everything. If you don't have a passion and a love for the wilderness, if you don't have an incredible, immense understanding of the wilderness that we have, that Sasquatch survive within, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to get anything. One of the primary things that I do, besides the tracking, is I study as best I can. And again, it's kind of like a jack of all. You can't be a master of the elk or the bears or the mountain lions. You just study as best you can, but I really make it a husbandry, and I love the wilderness, I love tracking, I love the species, the plants, the animals, the whole survival aspect of it. The wilderness is just beautiful, and I absolutely adore and love the wilderness. That's one thing anybody should have, that knew me, said that I was retiring from Sasquatch, knew damn well. And I didn't say I was retiring from Sasquatch, I just said I was retiring from all this stuff that's been going on, and that's really the publicity. I will, till I'm a crippled old man, be going back into the wilderness. I love the wilderness. I love the birds. I love all the species. And if you don't have that love, if you don't have that passion, you have nothing similar, you have nothing in common with what I would refer to Sasquatch as the masters of the wilderness. They love the wilderness. They're patient in the wilderness. One of the things that they do that no other species does so well is they read nature, they read the ecology, they read the way the wind is moving, the way the sun is
blah, blah, blah.
By Sasquatch signs that they leave behind. And then, I go and I film the birds, and I go watch what the wolves.
Blah, blah, blah.
I'm so passionate about this. One of the reasons is I love my life, I love my family, I love my friends, and I go out there and risk that life. Hardcore backcountry, man, you go up the wrong mountain and you're stuck in an avalanche. You go,
blah, blah, blah.
It's so very, very dangerous, and it's so much. You really shouldn't go out in the wilderness alone. It's very difficult. It's very hard on your body, and my gosh, so much I could talk about with that. But anyways, let's continue on. So I've got Jeff Meldrum, John Benego, Randy Brisson, Les Stroud will do a show. I can't believe people are just... Season 1 was amazing. Both episodes were incredible. And because of fake TV, I guess. People just didn't take it seriously, and that blew my mind. But anyways, we'll talk a little bit about season 2, the incredible success, and then that photograph. He took a photograph of the top of the head of a Sasquatch, and I'm astounded. There's a stupid picture of him. They say the video, somebody put up a video that says, look at the little Sasquatch in an episode of Les Stroud, and they say it's at Clem 2. I immediately looked at the photograph and recognized my terrain. It was my episode. It was actually the radium episode. I even knew they think that there's a little baby Sasquatch looking at him in the back, and oh my God, that is the most. It's not a baby Sasquatch. It's a tree that fell over, and the roots sticking up. I mean, I know when that tree fell over. I know my habitat. I know this research that I've spent thousands of hours out there. I immediately recognized what it was, and laughed about the way they thought it was a young Sasquatch, because there was actually a camera guy over in that direction. Sasquatch was making like a sound. I actually will, and it was a young Sasquatch. His track was about, I think it was between 9 and 10 inches.
You sure when the bunny ear was making that noise?
Like, it's just, it blows my mind that a human being has been able to have. I feel honestly, after I did Bigfoot North, and you know, I had all the success. I put the preview out there and did all that stuff with Les Stroud and all the videos and all the photos I've taken. Can you imagine, even for a second? I know there's many people that are obviously skeptical, obviously don't believe me. Can you imagine if I'm telling the truth? Because I am. Can you imagine? I've been here the whole time. I've been here since the beginning saying, don't take my word for it. You can find footage of me way back in, I think it was 2006, saying, don't take my word for it. I will take you out and show you a Sasquatch. I've been doing that with PhDs, with biology. Got trampled by an elephant. You can look it up online. It's terrible. A man after, he's the primatologist that took over Dian Fossey's research for gorillas. Dian Fossey's from the movie where she, because of the evolution of how we're all interacting together, and man is everywhere. They're in it. And what happened with Ian Redmond was this elephant did something that had never been seen before. It charged over a certain distance, which it's never done, and it was, you know, he's out there, he's an elephant expert. To theoretically read a book and think you understand bears, it's a whole new ball game when you get out there, and everything is changing. The world right now, oh my gosh, I mean, if you don't get it, if you don't see, mankind is just keep their feet dry, and then males it'll charge through and get wet. The point is, even in dogs you can see people have talked about it a lot and think that they can handle it, but when the in a Sasquatch troop, if you want to, primates exhibit is they're double the size of a gorilla, and I know it's a scary statement, but I think they possibly.
I'm sorry, folks. I can't handle a whole lot of
this. Neanderthals would most certainly pass the Homo.
This guy just rambling.
Important test when it came to human beings, chimpanzees, and Homo sapiens, and this test came back. Again, this was an. The geneticists are all 95% is not possible. Okay, so it happened. The sample's not contaminated. Why is there a 5% variance when it comes to chimpanzees? Again, on a test that must show 1% variance. We used, or they used, the 16S sequence of a chimpanzee. There are strands of chimpanzee DNA that can be 2% out, 3%, 4% out. 5% would be so extremely rare. It's ridiculous. But there are those genes. But all these sequences that they're testing to Homo sapiens all must show 99%. It's a fact. It must show behavior and the way the African primates would have migrated to where Homo sapiens and human beings. It's middle of nowhere wilderness. How can you, in pitch black, navigate off the side of a mountain where there's cliffs everywhere, there's tree everywhere, there's sticks in the ground, there's grass, and it's nice, it's very, very silent. And he didn't hear boom, 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 and he heard crash, crash, bang, bang. No, in pitch black, he heard the whipping sound of a creature going, wow. I heard it too. I've heard it before. I don't know how an animal could move dead silent through the wilderness with being a large Sasquatch that it was. It was a 15.5-inch track. I know the individual. But it happened. It's real. And you've got to move on from there. You've got to understand Sasquatch can see at night. Sasquatch move incredibly silent for an enormous primate through the wilderness.
What a loon this guy is. I don't know what's going on with the video here. Well, I mean, I guess I thought this was going to be much longer, but I couldn't handle all his me. I feel like he's taking all the credit for, finding Bigfoot. I found a Sasquatch.
Intelligence. Actually, I do have a great deal of knowledge about their intelligence, but just long story short, they're certainly going to meet the requirements of sentience that they have been in debate with other primates about. Putting gorillas and chimpanzees that could possibly be a sentient species in zoos might be unethical. This species, there'll be no doubt. In fact, that's why I don't like calling them a troop. I prefer to call them a tribe because I think they're at that level. So anyway, that's the DNA. So where do we go from here? Okay, so something else I want to talk about too is a piece of the success that I've had training with preparation, going back from Video 4 expedition. There's some photographs, digital photographs that I took of Sasquatch. They've taken a lot of heat, but I didn't mind putting them out there. Again, just shortly, if you see those Video 4 photographs, a lot of people are bashing them and knocking them. Whatever, I'm not worried about it. Those are real Sasquatch, and I have absolutely no doubt about it. The photographs that I took, the still photographs, was a camera I had no experience with. It was a backup camera that you should always take with you, and I had reason to use it. Unfortunately, it was actually a camera I was going to use for nighttime because my camera that I am an expert with using was absolutely garbage at night. So I had it all set up for night, and when when water was dripping down and splattered on my camera, I just dropped my camera. There's a Sasquatch there, and I went to take photographs with this digital camera, and it was set for nighttime in direct sunlight. And if you're a photographer, or you even can just imagine for a second what happens when you have a camera that's set for low light and you take photographs in direct sunlight, the photographs look terrible. The color is right off, and it's terrible, but the video images that look excellent and are the true color of that Sasquatch that I saw with my naked eyes, that's actually what the Sasquatch colors were. That's what the fur looked like. That's what the skin looked like. So I really try to focus on those because the other ones are they've got that orangey tinge to them, and it just can't be repaired. It just, you can't take if you know anything about photography, the sun is brighter than any light you could put. It's like a spotlight.
Well, no kidding. We already know that.
It's terribly, terribly bright. Look at the sun, for God's sake, and you can know. So taking photographs with a camera that is set for low light in direct sunlight was... anyways, the point of all this, though, is...
Is that supposed to be your excuse for why they look so hoaxy? They look fake? Is that supposed to be your excuse there, Todd? Because we ain't buying it.
Somebody from these scientists from Duke University gave me a call and said, we saw these photographs, and they actually fit a criteria that we're looking for. They're doing something. This is back in 2010. They were working on something called digital thermal pixelization, identification. So I only have this information because I wrote it down from the conversation that I had with him. He's never sent me any emails, and I don't have any more information about it yet. But what this is it's basically the fingerprinting of the thermal image of your face, where you can identify individuals. So they were trying to sell this technology to somebody that, you know, maybe a government, or use it to identify individuals on camera. But the problem with it is that you needed temperature sources, and and you need light that bended at a certain frequency. Well, one light source that they're very, very familiar with is the light of the sun, and they can get two temperatures based on something that's refracting like a piece of wood, which was in my video for stuff, the Sasquatch. So there's wood that they can get a temperature from, and a piece of snow. There was snow in that was also getting direct sunlight on it. So they took those and managed to get a digital thermal pixelization fingerprint of the video for Sasquatch. And what was so exciting was he paid me money and gave me some money to be able to use that in his demo reel to show whatever government agencies he was dealing with. And what was so exciting is the technology exists to prove beyond any doubt that my Sasquatch videos are real, because they're digital and they can thermalize them, especially video 4, because there's that snow there. And
well, you know, sometimes experts can be wrong. And these Duke University folks, they could very well be wrong. So I wouldn't put too much credence into what old Toddy is saying here.
When I talked to him, and after he had his results, the reason he was contacting me and paying me for this is because the face fingerprinted perfectly. And I was on the phone begging this guy, please, let's do something with this information, let's get it out there. But I mean, there's really, these guys from Duke University are, you know, they probably sold the technology for millions of dollars. And anyways, I know that technology is out there. If it's a mask, which I mean, it can't even be a mask. I don't even know what people think it is, but it's a Sasquatch face. And if that
You serious?
Sasquatch face is thermally shows temperatures for eyes, temperature for skin, temperature for mouth, temperature in foreheads. If it has those qualities, it can't be a mask. It can't be. So it probably will never be enough proof, but it'll certainly, I mean, it's almost like getting a DNA sample with these photographs, which I didn't get, but really can't be faked at that point. So Adrian was really excited about this, and so was I. But this was in, again, 2009, so that's 8 years ago. But anyways, about a year and a half ago, an investigator called me, a professional investigator called me, and that technology that these guys do is being implemented in a certain government organization that I promised I wouldn't talk about, but that's not what's important. What's important is, and anybody can see this information. He called me and he said, "Look, have you ever been really investigated?" And I said, "Well, I don't think so. I mean, what do you mean by investigation?" Had somebody, like, this man is a professional investigator. He does it for a living. He knows how to investigate things. And he said he would like to investigate me because he was astounded and had knowledge of this digital thermal pixelization identification photograph of the Sasquatch. He was blown away because Sasquatch can't exist. And yet, these guys from Duke University who he works with, who are colleagues of his now, say it can't be faked. There's no way. Each image was perfectly thermalized in a fingerprint of the face, amazingly and impressed. So anyways, he's astounded by this, and he asked to investigate me. So he asked for a few different criteria, one of which was unlimited access to my email. So I gave him the stuff. I've always been very transparent in people that have asked me for.
You serious?
Having a professional investigator is always going to be of great assistance to me. He's given me lots of advice, but he found something out that was really, really interesting. And this is something that you'll find true in an investigation is people's true colors will shine through if you give them the opportunity. And so I'm gonna read this directly from what he sent to me. So he went through all my emails, checked my phone numbers, people I've been calling, did all kinds of investigations on me, and he found this fact that I've been very transparent, extremely transparent with my video footage and with my stuff. I put it all out there. I put raw photographs out there. I've gotten a lot of heat from that. People taking, like for example, what I call meatheads, take a piece of information and twist it and turn around. Like someone saw that the camera that was set to low light took those photographs, and without any information, meathead went and said, well, obviously this Sasquatch footage was shot indoors. I didn't know how to respond to that because I'm Canadian, I live out in the mountains.
You serious?
Okay, I've had my fun with this, but as Michael Stipe of REM says, it's time to split. So, all this is just basically he's BSing, and he's praising himself, and just talking about himself. This guy's an obvious malignant narcissist. He's a lunatic, you know. And he'll do anything to be so self-aggrandizing. Uh, no, I've had just about enough of this. So I mean, this guy, he can make all the laughable statements he wants, but he's never going to be convincing to anybody. I mean, he's just a BS artist. That's all there is to it. If people choose to look into him, great. If not, well, that's on them. That's their business. Anyway, see you guys later. Y'all be good at it.